so you're more in the center.
That's okay. We live?
We are live.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Scott Lurie with F Street Group. We're today talking about investing in multifamily properties. We got a bunch of people joining us here today. We're at 55 so far, so thank you all for joining. We're going to give everyone another 1 minute, and then we're going to go through some house rules and get started. I hope everybody is staying healthy. It's nice to see the sun shining finally. I feel like that disappeared for a little while. So hopefully everyone can open up their blinds and get a little sunlight, vitamin D into their lives. And we'll be starting here in 1 minute. So thank you guys for being here. Is the recording going? You let Russell in?
Well, that's a lot.
That's new. New to the city, baby.
Pretty much having,
Nick G.
pretty much gonna do it. Unless you want me to.
Gotcha.
These are, no, don't disregard. I don't know what questions might put on. Oh, these were extra, in case I have a hot
Okay,
tip.
we're ready to roll.
All right, everybody. We still got people coming in. I will let them in as they join, but we want to go ahead and get started. We've got a lot of material to cover today, and we want to make sure that we also get to all of your questions as you have them throughout, and to the questions that you submitted when you signed up to join today's workshop. So just a quick rundown. Our team today is Scott Lurie, President of Milwaukee Hard Money, Sarah Pink Floyd, Vice President of Milwaukee Hard Money, and I will be the absent monitor. My name is Mike Doney. I'm the Director of Marketing for Milwaukee Hard Money. So just a couple.
One back.
Sorry.
I don't know where it went.
It's after this match.
Our house rules are that we have a lot to cover today. We only have 1 hour at a time, so we want to be respectful of that. If you have any comments or questions that we aren't able to get to today, please feel free to email me, and I will consult with the team and make sure that we get the information out to you that you need. Otherwise, please feel free to leave something in the chat, and I will try and address that as we are going through today. Also, if there's anything that you want to discuss further, or if you have a project in mind that you do want to discuss, you can always request a contact on our website, and then we will have somebody from our team get back in touch with you. So,
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining us, guys. So today we've got 1 hour. I guess part of my question to you guys moving forward is, I hope you find these workshops to be beneficial. The intention of these workshops is when I got involved in real estate in 2003, I was an aspiring entrepreneur who said, how the hell do I get involved in real estate? I owned not a single piece of real estate. I didn't even own a home or anything. And I wanted to learn, and I didn't really have a platform to learn. So the purpose of these are not intended as anything other than to simply be educational. It is not out of the box or in the box type of education. This is actually how we actually do it in real life. So this is how I'm navigating the real estate world every single day right now, and historically. And I want to be able to share this with you. So these are intended to be free. We're looking to build out our educational platform as a give back to the community. And so your comments, your feedback are critical to us. When you get our survey, if you would not mind responding with some input, we appreciate your input. And so thank you for that in advance. Once again, my name is Scott Lurie. I'm with F Street Group and the president of Milwaukee Hard Money. In 2003, as I just stated, I started with a dream, right? I wanted to be a real estate developer. I wanted to own real estate. And more importantly, I wanted to make money, right? At the end of the day, we want to build wealth. We want to make money. That's our goal. Build wealth, make money. And so I started out with that pursuit in 2003, not owning any real estate. And today, I own just over 1,500 apartments in southeastern Wisconsin and about 1 million square feet of industrial space. Why do I share that with you? What is the purpose of that? It doesn't make me feel better, but I hope it gives you ambition. I hope it gives you reason to know that you too can do this. Real estate is for everybody. Real estate doesn't have one direction you need to go in, but you certainly need to devise a business plan and be conscious of how you go about doing what you're going to do in real estate. Yes, we'll have this PowerPoint later. Thank you for asking. So with that said, the purpose of this is to be uplifting and to give you ambition and to give you knowledge so that you will be empowered to go do something, right? Everybody can be in real estate, and I want you to better your life. I want you to better your cash flow. I want you to better your being and better your family. And so that's why we're here today. I have no other mission or agenda other than that. And so your feedback, as I said, is important to me. So thanks for being here. Today, we're going to talk about multifamily, right? What is multifamily? Why do we invest in multifamily? What makes you excited about multifamily? And how do you make money in multifamily? How do you underwrite multifamily? How do you actually figure out if multifamily is the right place that you want to be in? I will tell you that multifamily is the hottest, sexiest category in real estate today, and it was yesterday. Can you start the recording? So with that said, multifamily, today we're going to kind of go through what is multifamily, how to invest in it, how do you figure out your yields, what's the difference between cash flow, right? Everyone talks about cash flow and profit. There's a difference, guys. So yes, we need to learn about that. And then we need to discuss how to finance multifamily. We've gotten some great questions on how do you finance a multifamily property? What is the difference between a residential and a commercial loan? Is there a difference? Of course. How do I request for financing when I send out my deals to my investors? How do you get the equity, right? This is the big one. How do I find the equity, right? Everyone wants to know this. Where do I find the money from? What is the difference between a rate and term and a cash out refi? And then we have a bunch of questions that you guys submitted. This topic is certainly hot. We certainly appreciate you all being here. I'm joined with Sarah Floyd, who runs our mortgage business, and she'll chime in as she sees fit. So thanks for being here. One other thing, if you have any questions or have any other additional information, please put it in the chat, and we'll try to get to it. Otherwise, we're available. Our offices are located on 9th Street between Juneau and Highland. We love meeting with you guys, so please feel free to stop by as you have time. A couple categories we're going to go over is just a glossary. You know, what is an NOI? What are cap rates? What are ROIs, ARVs, pro formas, amortization period, MFM? Anyone know what MFM is? It's money for me, right? How many people want more money for me, right? That's what we're after, right? And so we use MFM as our own internal way of figuring out what is our money that we're getting or money for me. So let's get started, Mike. Briefly touching on what is multifamily. So multifamily in the residential category is 2 to 4 units. So a two family, a duplex, a 4 family, and then the commercial units is 5 units and above. These are traditional terminology. It's more textbook than anything, but let's move forward to the next one. So why? So Mike put this up there, and I think it's pretty on point. It's in investing. What is comfortable is rarely profitable, right? And so let's get out of our comfort zone, guys. Let's get out of where we are today, and let's reach a little bit. Let's get uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is going to make us naturally uncomfortable, but that's okay. Let's figure it out.
It's a risk profile. We talked
risk
about
profile.
before.
So how many of you think you're risky, right? You're risky in life, right? You like to go do the risky water slides, or you like to be a great America and do those types of risky profiles? Or are you a risky type of person that's willing to evaluate a deal and take the risk, right? How many of you taken a risk, right, in your life? And I can't see your hands and I can't figure it out. So if you want to type in, I'm kind of watching your feedback. Shay, thank you. Yeah, you have, right? You've taken a risk. And with your risk, you're not always going to win, right? But what you need to do is figure out how to mitigate and manage your risk, right? Risk is determined by your ability to create returns, right? So this is where we're at. So let's think about this, right? What are the benefits of rental properties, right? Why are people investing in rental properties? Well, the obvious one is steady income, right? And so what does steady income mean? Well, that's your cash flow. And I can assure you that when you invest in multifamily, your cash flow doesn't just show up at your door like people tell you on TV, mailbox money. No, you have to vet your tenants. You have tenants that run into problems. You have tenants that do everything right and everything wrong, and you still have to manage the business, right? This is still a business at the end of the day. A couple other things that we work on is we're building equity, right? So we'll talk about that in a little more, but we want to build equity. We want to leverage our assets using debt, right? So not many industries other than real estate can you go leverage your assets to do more with them, right? It's a relatively interesting phenomenon because real estate has a value, and that value in most instances can stay the same, can increase, but rarely does it decrease, right? Rarely does it decrease from what you acquired it for. Unlike a car, right? If you want to go buy 10 cars and you pull them off the lot and you bought 10 cars for $10,000 or spent $100,000, the moment you cross the lot line, you congratulations, now have $80,000, right? And so in the next year you have 60. And so this is a different industry, and you have to focus on that. Right. And so now we're going to look at how to get higher ROIs or return on investments. You can get what I just referenced to, which is a long-term appreciation, right? So if you buy a property, and we're going to go through this scenario in a little while of a property that I personally bought in 2008, but we'll go through a property that you buy in 2008. And today, so 12 years later, I've done nothing, right? I might have increased rents and I manage expenses, but the property of value has increased. And in that scenario, it's increased about $700,000. So by show of only in your own head, how many people want to earn $700,000? I think all of us do, right? We all want to make that money, right? Making the money. Then we want to talk about portfolio diversification, right? So if you have multifamily, you want to diversify into industrial. And if you don't have any, if your business, you're an entrepreneur and your business is a painting business, well, you might want to diversify so you can have other income coming from real estate. So that's the portfolio diversification. And then once you create the value and then you create the cash flow, unfortunately, there's a guy named Uncle Sam who wants some of it, right? And real estate provides you with the opportunity to take advantage of several tax benefits, which is why people invest in real estate, right? I have so much income over here. I want so much depreciation over here that I can start offsetting some of my income. And so very, very real. It's real dollars. Imagine that if you didn't have to give the government $15,000 or $20,000 or $80,000, that's money that you give away and you get absolutely nothing for it, in my mind, but everyone has their own position on that. And you move on. What if you didn't have to do that because you bought a duplex? Think about the power of you not having to do that, meaning, and do that, write a check to Uncle Sam for $50,000. You can write a check to Uncle Sam for $0 because you bought a duplex. Let's carry on, Mike. If there's any questions, by the way, as we discuss this, we as Mike said, we only have an hour. One of the survey questions we're going to send out is, do we think we need more time, guys? And so if we think we need more time, I'd like to offer that time to this group of people that join us. And so we'll extend the periods of time to which we are together. But
maybe just a separate Q&A session sometime too, just for questions.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll just do an open Q&A session where we'll just jump on for a little while. That seems to make a lot of sense as well. So once again, I want to thank the 85 participants that are here with us today. Excuse me, Tim's coming in to make 86. Mike, can you move the chat to the other side so I can just see what we're talking about? So how properties yield profits, right? So we all understand the basics, right? This is going to sound very, very basic, and maybe it's too basic, but let's go through the basic, right? You have rental income, or on the top of the P&L, you have income, right? So what is your source of income from a rental property? It's traditionally rental income. Now, there are other buildings or other opportunities where you can get income from. In one of my buildings, T-Mobile pays us rent for an antenna on top of it. They pay $1,500 a month. And so that is not rental income, although it can be defined as rental income, but rental income can come from a commercial tenant or a residential tenant or whomever that's paying you money as terms of income.
Could be laundry income, lake
and parking. Great, Sarah. So then if we look at property expenses, right? So we look at our expenses. What are our traditional expenses that we're paying, right? So we're paying insurance, we're paying maintenance, we're paying sometimes utilities. We'll talk about that in a little while. and we always have to pay taxes, right? So real estate always has an assessed value that derives a tax base off of it, for those that are not on the tax roll. And then we have other expenses that might go into your property, right? So you might have to take care of X, Y, and Z of an expense. And what you're left with from those two mechanical items is your NOI or your net operating income, right? So when you can get to your NOI, right? Your NOI is, what is your net operating income? What is the building at the end of the day producing in terms of operating income? And so, so let's move to the next slide, if that makes sense for everybody, and then we'll talk a little bit because this is the aha moment everybody asks about, and we've got tons of questions on this, and so let's figure this out for a minute. So profit. So in anyone's mind, is there a difference between profit and cash flow, right? And the answer is absolutely, right? So cash flow or profit. So profit is the amount of money left over after all expenses are paid, right? It's just a simple amount. This is the taxable amount and takes into consideration depreciation and amortization, right? So this is the accounting function, right? How much profit have I made? And so, hey, Ryan, I appreciate your marketing on our website, and thank you for coming through. We got the point. Let's save the marketing message for later, right? We're here to educate everybody who's here, and that's great, but no problem for being here. Thanks for joining us. And if you want to reach out to Ryan, Ryan is an agent who's aggressive. I appreciate his energy, and his email is in the chat room if you're looking to connect with him. So thank you. So let's get through then cash flow, right? So cash flow or MFM, right? Well, that's the money for me, right? So what is the actual functional difference between profit on a P&L statement of a multifamily building versus the actual cash flow that gets in your pocket, right? The biggest moment that we have to figure out here, the biggest moment is that typically your cash flow is what comes after you pay the amortization of your debt. So what does that mean, right? What is amortization? Does everyone understand the mechanism of amortization on debt? And no is a great answer because it's a confusing subject, right? So if I look at my P&L, right, my profit and loss, my building might produce $65,000 a year of profit, but the cash flow of the building might only be $38,000 to me. And everyone says, well, how the hell is that possible? Where's the money going? How does that happen, right? How do I have a $65,000 profit of a building, right? I just made $65,000. Oh, and don't forget, the government recognizes that you just made $65,000. And the problem to you as a landlord or the owner or the investor is you only actually materially received $38,000 of cash flow. And then you say to yourself, wait, Mr. Government, I'm paying tax on $65,000, but I'm only getting $35,000. I feel like you're shortchanging me. And the answer is, well, they're not really shortchanging you. What they're doing, what happens in this world is what we call phantom equity or what we call amortization of debt. And so think about this, right? When you're underwriting a building or when we're selling a building or when we're buying a building, we're proforming or understanding what is the profit or the NOI of the building. That's the simple piece of the subject, right? How much is my rent? I bring in $10,000. I've got $5,000 of expenses. I have $5,000 of net income, right? That's simple, right? But that's not reality, right? That's not actually how the world turns, right? And so you have to figure out how you can turn the world. And it really comes down to then what is the cash flow and what is your loan structure underneath a multifamily building to get to the point where you say to yourself, aha, this is amazing, right? This is the money I'm making for me, MFM, money for me, right? How do I get more of that? And so let's get to the profit and loss statement, which I want to show you for one of my properties, right? So this is a building I own. I bought this building in 2008. So this is a 11-unit apartment complex with 3 retail stores on the first floor on the corner of 12th and Lincoln. So I bought this in 2008. So today, my total income on this building is $130,675. Okay, so that counts for 12 months of income from the 11 apartments that are rented, plus the 3 retail units that are rented, and there's some nominal parking involved in this, right? And so I have some expenses. I'm showing you my expenses. I have contract labor. I have some equipment charges, and I don't know what those specifically are. We have insurance, right? Insurance is $7,000. I paid the bank interest of $7,749. I have permits and fees. So this is probably DNS permits for the annual fire inspection of $197.64. I've had to have, we use an outsourced security service. I paid $422 for those services. I've paid the city of Milwaukee $10,730 for real estate taxes. This building, yes, we'll get to one of those for you in 1 second. This building is a common area boiler. And so every month we're paying We Energies a total of $16,161. And I have some other nominal expenses I haven't classified in the world. But my total expenses on the building are $67,702, right? So one would say that this is pretty damn good, right? So I own a building I've owned since 2008. And every year my net income, as we ran through before, remember, income minus expenses gives me my net profit, or my NOI, is $62,972. Okay. That I'm turning into the government, I'm showing that I am paying income of $62,972.96. Okay. Now, what happens after this, right? So now in my scenario, many people have different factions or mindsets of how we want to get to the end of the world, right? What does the end of the world look like for you? The end of the world looks like to me is I want to pay down my debt as much as I can, and then I want to refinance my debt to get a lot of cash, because that cash comes to me tax-free, right? So my mind is a little bit different, right? But your mind might be different than mine, right? You might say, I want to not pay down my debt. I want to have as long as debt as I possibly can, because I know that I'm bringing in $130,000 a year, and it can easily sustain my debt. And so if you look, if you look at the next piece of it, right? So now on my particular deal, I'm paying an amortization of debt of $24,366.80 a year. So every year or every month, I am building up wealth of $2,000 a month. And at the end of the year, that $2,000 equals $24,366.80. And I get to pay tax on that money, but the bank, due to my mortgage, right? I have a mortgage with the bank. The bank says every month you are paying me $2,000 towards the principal reduction of your debt. So now I'm paying $24,366.80. And so after I pay my bank, my cash flow to me, or MFM, money for me, is $38,606. So I'm only getting, at the end of this day, $38,000 of cash flow to me. I have profit of $62,000, and the bank gets $24,000, of which I'm paying tax on, because I actually am making $62,000. But the bank says, hey, don't forget about me, Mr. Bank. I need to get paid because I don't want you to be there. Why do banks amortize debt? Think about the conversation that we went to for risk. Why would a bank amortize debt? Because every month, when you make your payment, their risk goes down. So think about that. So if you go to a bank and you say to the bank, I want a 30-year mortgage, right? Everyone's heard of the 30-year mortgage nonsense in the world that doesn't really exist much longer. Okay, in the commercial setting of banking, 30-year mortgages are a thing of the past. But for scenario's sake, we're going to go through them, okay? But so after we do that, in this particular scenario, I am taking my cash flow of $38,000, and I'm making additional monthly payments to my lender of $33,000 a year. And that leaves me with my annual cash flow of $4,700, which is about enough money to cover the taxes. Why do I do that? Well, that's my philosophy, right? I want to get rid of the lender to get my debt paid down, and then eventually I'll refinance to get a tax-free cash out refinance, right? But this is where I'm at right now, and you can make your own scenarios. Why am I showing you the different scenarios that you can do? Well, because you do you, right? You have to figure out what works for you. Do you have a 8-to-5 job where you're a W-2 employee, and then you say to yourself, now what? Or do you say to yourself, I've got enough cash coming in, I don't want the cash, I want to reduce my debt? Or do you say to yourself, I want to get to the point where I want to save all my cash and then buy another property? right? So when you look at a property, yes, I look at cash flow. I also look at operating income, but how do you get to cash flow, right? So here's the $1 million question, Alicia, and thank you for asking it. How do you look at cash flow? Well, so how do you look at cash flow? You cannot functionally look at cash flow unless you understand your lending environment. You cannot, so let me say that one more time. You cannot understand your cash flow unless you understand the various scenarios to which you can get debt. Because your debt driver, your lender, unfortunately controls the strings, right? Your lender is going to be the person that is going to tell you very specifically what your cash flow is going to be. So we're going to get into that, Alicia, because I think you just got the light bulb moment there, right? When you purchase something, you're looking for a cash flow, right? Yeah, but how do you look at cash flow? And so we're going to talk in 2 minutes about a pro forma. But underneath that scenario, that's exactly what we're looking for, Alicia. We want to make sure that the property can sustain a cash flow, because I can show you, in essence, I can show you a property that's producing $62,000 of profit, and the cash flow is negative, meaning you are coming out of your pocket every month to pay the building, right? And you start scratching your head. How the hell? What the hell? Why the hell? But that's very, 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 very real. And so you as the investor investing in multifamily need to be doing your homework. You know, we talk about how hard are you going to work for 30 grand or 40 grand or 50 grand. And I'll work my ass off for all of those numbers. I'll do everything, right? I want to work hard to make money. My mission is right now as a capitalist in my own world is to go make money. How do I do it? And so let's get to the next slide, Mike, for 2 minutes. Go to the pro tip for 1 minute. Let's just go back from it. So somebody, Shay, no, who offer accounting software recommendations? Somebody asked, I couldn't see it on thing, but somebody asked, what professional accounting software? So use a professional accounting software. I use QuickBooks, right? QuickBooks, you can get a basic QuickBooks online. There's also a company called Rent Manager. And rentmanager.com does a very good job as well. You can also get with Appfolio. You can get with Propertyware. All of those have accounting functions built in. The easiest ones to work with is QuickBooks. It is very easy. If you need help with QuickBooks or QuickBooks setup, please call me. Please call our offices. I'm happy to walk you through it. But it's easy. So, but this is what I export out of QuickBooks, right? So if you look at this whole number, what I get out of QuickBooks is this Excel sheet that gives all of my data I put into it or all my expenses. It gets me to my NOI, which is $70,722. Why did my NOI go up? Because you take your interest expense out of the NOI to get to your NOI. I put a cap rate on it of 7.5 cap. I get to a valuation today of $942,969. We can talk about cap rate in a minute. So I bought this building in 2008 for $280,000. So do the math, but you can go make $700,000 over the period of 12 years. I've been to the property, I don't know, 5 times a year. I don't really work that hard about this property. This is residual income for me. I found a deal. I invested in the deal. I invest in the property every year. Put a new boiler on it last year. I continue to do what's right for the property to continue to add its value. But tell me this, who else wants to go buy this property for $280,000 in 2008? Everybody should be saying me. This is what we're here for, guys, right? And so if you keep going through the process, you're going to build wealth. You're going to build money. You're going to build cash flow. You're going to build money for me. That's what we want, guys, right? We want more money for me, however you want to equate it to, right? What is money for me? For me, it's the valuation spread between what I paid for it and what it's worth today. I also get some cash flow off of this, right? I could get up to $62,000 of cash flow subject to me doing what? Figuring out my banking relationship, right? Banks are the important thing. So Mike, let's go to the second slide if you don't mind, right? So let's get to this. Let me go back one if you can. This slide right here. So this is an amortization schedule, right? How did you produce this? Does everybody have Excel on their computer? If you go into Excel, you go under templates and you type in mortgage, you'll get a loan amortization spreadsheet. I encourage you to play with it. If you have questions about it, I also encourage you to call us. We're happy to walk you through it. This information, Mike, our director of marketing, made very pretty, but this comes out of an Excel spreadsheet, and it's very, very intuitive, right? So I forget, I think it was Alicia, if I'm saying your name wrong, sorry, but asked, you look for cash flow, right? Yeah, of course we do, right? But look at the difference in cash flow based on my lender, right? So if I'm going to go buy something for $200,000, my cash flow, if I am able to, so consider everything's the same, right? Does anybody know what's changed in all four of these scenarios? There's only
Your monthly payment.
Well, the monthly payment has changed, but what's driven the change, right? The interest is the same. Interest is 3% at everyone. The term, thank you. The term has changed, right? What does term mean in the terms of where we are, right? Term. What is term? Term is, what is the term to which you as the lender are going to amortize my debt? Or another word is, how many years is the mortgage going to be paid off in over a period of time? So if you run an amortization schedule, your amortization schedule will show this. If everybody is not running an amortization schedule when they're running their projects to determine in a pro forma what it's going to be, you're making a mistake, right? Because you actually functionally do not know how much money you're going to make, right? How can you figure out your cash flow if you don't know what it looks like, right? So how does macro look? Well, okay. So Eli, interesting question. Give me a second and we'll get to that one. But so I want to just run through everybody this one scenario. So if we went for so if somebody says, I'm going to give you a 315, right? So that means I'm going to give you a 3% interest rate and it's going to be amortized over 15 years, right? So maybe they say it's a 5-year term. So a 5-year term, it's a 3% interest rate amortized over 15 years, right? So in that scenario, your monthly payment is $1,382. Now, what you'll notice is that over the period of the total years of amortization, you're paying $48,000 of interest, which is the lowest amount of interest you can pay, right? That's the least amount, right? The faster you amortize, the less your interest is. So the less your interest expenses, the lower your amortization is. And if you conversely look to a 30-year, you're paying over double. You're paying $103,000 of interest, right? So anybody look at their credit card statements, it says to you, well, if you choose to not pay this off immediately, which I encourage everyone to do, you can pay this off over the next 197,000 years and you'll pay interest equal to $4 billion, right? And you're like, geez, that sounds like a bad proposition.
It depends.
So, yes, you need to know. You need to know amortization on everything. Amortizing is very important because you're going to eventually, to continue to do what you're doing, you have to find an end lender, right? You have to find the end game, right? How are you taking the money? How are you taking the debt from wherever you are to the end lender, right? You always need to know your amortization. You have to. And so think about this, right? So if I said to somebody, well, and so people say, well, why can't I just go get a 30-year? Well, what happened in 2008 and 2009 crushed the 30-year commercial mortgage, right? Because people want to reduce their risk. People, meaning the banks, right? So how can a bank reduce risk? Remember, we talked about that earlier. Every time you make a payment to a bank, you are inherently reducing your risk, right? Because you owe them less, the less money it is, and they're assuming the asset's still valuable at what it was from the appraised value from when you got it. So every month you're giving them less risk. And so when you look at deals, it is upon you as the investor to run these 4 scenarios. You should run these in your cash flow analysis. Figure out how to figure it out. Right? That's what you want to do. So if you said in the commercial market, right? Think about this from a commercial to a business. And we're going to talk about this in the next slide or in a minute about how to finance multifamily. But there is a functional shift between a residential mortgage and a commercial mortgage. And as a result of that, there's different terms, right? On a residential mortgage, you can still get a 30-year mortgage. They still exist. On a commercial mortgage, a 30-year mortgage is available. You can still get it, but it's very hard to get. And so, meaning less banks are offering it because they want to reduce their exposure to the real estate markets all the time, right? That's something that they always want to do. I want to reduce my exposure. And so if you look at the difference between the cash flow between 15 years and 30 years, the difference of MFM, right? Money for me, the difference, a simple action of you saying to the bank, I want a 30-year versus a 15 years, you will get $6,456 of additional cash flow in your pocket. What you choose to do with it is up to you. So let's talk about that for a minute. So it is my recommendation as our pro tip to each of you to try to get the longest amortization possible that you can obtain from your lender. But don't forget, when you tell the lender, I want a 70-year mortgage, 70-year term, they're going to tell you, hey, that's great. We're willing to give you 25 years or 20 years. Right? So you, as much as you feel as though you want, right? I want, you don't get a chance to go and complain, right? The lenders have programs, and it is on you to talk to every lender. It is on you to prepare for a lender by sending out a request for financing letter. It should include, what is your term going to be? Yeah. But if you think about it like this, if you took a 30-year mortgage and you were able to get it and you got $6,456 of cash, and this year happened to be a bad year for you, right? COVID hit, the world ended, and then it's coming back. So the world ended. You wanted that cash flow this year, right? I want another $6,456 in my pocket. And in 2021, I feel really optimistic about 2021. I don't believe in 21 I'm going to need that extra cash flow. Well, that's fine. You then can go and pay down additional principal to your lender at your discretion. And I would tell you, as just another tip, make sure you're checking your prepayment penalty, because they usually traditionally allow you to pay up to 10% of your mortgage without prepayment a year. So in this scenario, you could pay $20,000 a year without prepayment. So if you had the flexibility, you as the borrower, as the investor, can come up with your own destiny, right? That's what you need to do. You need to come up with your own destiny. So think about it. What if you wanted to take the $6,456 and buy another property with it? You already had $15,000. You needed a little bit more money. Okay, you wait 12 months. You save the money, disciplined investor, and then you go ahead with it. That's great. But you want the flexibility. So make sure when you're going through the process of securing your end lender that you are trying to gain as much flexibility as you want. You also need to be disciplined enough that once you gain that flexibility, that $6,456 is not going to food, entertainment, cars, jewelry, nonsense that has no value in your life. Okay? So think through that. If you're not disciplined, if you're not a disciplined investor, then self-discipline yourself. Put yourself in the naughty room, right? How do you self-discipline yourself? Go get a 20-year mortgage, right? You've now self-disciplined yourself, because every month you're paying more money towards your payment, but the lender doesn't allow you. You don't have the luxury, once you've established terms and rate of a mortgage, unless you go refinance it, to make changes to your payment. You can pay more, you can't pay less. Everyone understand that? You can pay more, you can't pay less. All right, let's get to that next slide for a minute. I want to talk briefly about pro formas, right? How many people understand what a pro forma is? So pro forma is basically how do I figure out what my net operating income is going to be of a particular property, right? So this is a basic scenario spreadsheet. If anyone needs this, feel free to reach out to us. We'll send it to you. When I evolved and evolve in terms of building apartments now we're building apartments, and we've also buy apartments, our spreadsheets turn into 400-page workbooks. But we always start with the most simple spreadsheet you can get, which is this, right? This spreadsheet starts with income. So analyze your income, okay? Analyze it. Figure out your income, right? Where's your income going to be? I've got a 4-family. I've got 2-3 bedrooms upstairs. I got 2 bedrooms downstairs. They're bringing in $750 upstairs and $600 downstairs, right? That's $1,500 and $1,200. That's $2,700 in income times 12 gives me my income for the year, right? Right? Do we have any laundry? Do we have any parking? Are we charging $50 a stall? Are we charging $100 a stall? Figure it out. And then get into your expenses, right? And so in traditional multifamily, you can estimate 50 to 52% is expense ratio is somewhat reasonable, but there's also ways to get your expenses down in the 40s, right? And how do you do that? Well, I can shift my utilities, for example, to my tenants. I have my tenants pay. I have my tenants pay the water bill, right? So you guys are signing a lease, you're paying water bill, or you're charging them rent plus utilities, right? You can boost your income to pay down your expenses. The more income you have and the less expenses you have, essentially the more valuable your property is. Think about that very quickly, right? The more income you have and the less expenses you have or expenses you pay, the more income, the more valuable your property is, right? Everybody wants to have the most valuable property. So figure it out, right? There's ways to make that happen. Figure that out. Okay, so here's a pro forma. So if anyone needs a pro forma, but let's go through this. We'll manipulate a few numbers here just to kind of give you an idea of. Do we need to switch spreadsheets here, Mike? Yeah. So we're gonna jump in here and just kind of just do a little bit of manipulation just so everyone can kind of figure it out. I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. Yes. Are you sharing the spreadsheet now?
I think everybody should be able to.
Are you able to? Is everyone able to see the spreadsheet that's on your screen? Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Shay. So if you look at this, spreadsheet right here, so we've got tenant 1, we got tenant 2. So if tenant 1's paying $1,500, and I want to, so now scroll. So if you look at where we're at right now, this is a duplex that we went through before historically, but I want to just show you. So scroll down, like to the bottom of this, just a little farther down. Okay, so we have lender property value, which is net operating income, and then you can put a cap rate on it, right? So if we can increase our net income, right, we can increase our property valuation, right? Increasing our net income is how? There's 2 ways to do that. So let's go back up, Mike, for 2 minutes, right? So if we told tenant 1 that they're not paying $1,500, but now they're paying $1,600, right? And the other tenant's paying $1,550. Okay, so now let's go down. So now we just increased our value of our property by $18,000. So our tenants just paid $150 more a month, $1,800 a year more, and our value of our property just went up $20,000 approximately.
Bam.
Right? So think about this. How the hell? I just made 20 grand. People are scratching your heads. I get it. How the hell did that just happen, right? Well, you just told your tenant to pay more rent, right? So disciplined landlord, disciplined business owner, rent increases, you get more money, more MFM, money for me. Now, conversely, if we went and told our tenants, you know what, you're gonna pay less, put them both at $1,400, Mike. So we took their rent down $100, right? Who cares about $100? Who cares about $200? Oh yeah, that just cost you 60 grand.
In property value.
That's in property value. That's nothing more than the valuation of this property. So you lost 60 grand by giving somebody just $100 a month.
And it was about $4,000 in cash flow.
Right. So $4,000 in cash flow into your pocket. You just lost $60,000. Think about that. Just resonate that in your brain. $100. How many people say $100? That's it. Who cares? You, as the investor, need to care about everything that impacts your life, because if you can drill into your head, if you can grind into your brain, if you can live by the thoughts that every dollar matters to you as a landlord, you are able to increase your value, to increase your cash flow. It is that important to this process, guys. And conversely, Mike, take each of them to $1,700. Just as an FYI, everybody that is registered is going to get a copy of the presentation as well as these spreadsheets. So yes, everyone will get them. If anyone has any questions, please reach out. As I said, this is a free seminar for each of you guys to have the tools that I didn't have in 2003. If we can keep helping you be investors, it's good for our investment community. So that's why we're here. So now, if you increase them all by $200, right? So everybody now is paying you $200 more. I'm paying $200 more. Right? $200 more. What happens? the value now is increased by $80,000. The value of the home went up $80,000 for $200 more a month, $400 a year, $4,800 in cash flow. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, conversely, we can do the same thing. Conversely, we can do the same thing with expenses, right? If you tell your tenants to start paying utilities, can everyone still hear me? I'm having a little feedback in my mind, so I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, thank you. So if you get your tenants to pay your water bill or your utilities, that $1,300 that you would get on income can still, the $1,300 from the utilities still can help you, right? It's still able to increase your NOI, which increases your value. So there's two ways to do it. Why not come up with a happy medium? Tenant pays $50 more a month. 50 times 2 is 100. That's $1,200, and you get the tenants to pay your water bill. That's $2,000. $2,000, I don't know, worth $30,000 to you. $30,000 in valuation. $30,000 in valuation gives you the ability to go do the next step in this puzzle, which everybody wants to know. This is the art, guys. This is the art. Pay attention right now to the art of what we're trying to show you, okay? The next step is to leverage, and I have a video I put out on our Milwaukee Hard Money YouTube site about leverage, right? It is the aha moment. It is where you get your world from, right? You have to be able to create leverage. So if you can create leverage, if you can maximize your creation of leverage, you can continue to build a portfolio. It's that simple, right? So create leverage. So let's get to the next slide, Mike, for a minute here. We got 12 minutes. I want to get to a few questions. Are you sharing the right screen?
I got to work. Sorry. Just give me 1 second.
But you got to change the screen from the share. Is that the screen's being shared, Mike? Share screen and then flip over to you. Share screen. Can everyone see that? There you go. Okay. So now here we are, right? So let's look at this for 2 minutes, okay? So financing multifamily. This is like the aha moment, guys, right? How the hell do we figure this out? Can you put the people back up so I can see? Thank you. So if we look at the aha moments, right? Financing multifamily, right? How do you get the money? Well, I don't know. Let's talk about it. So my point is the following. Has everybody established a relationship with local banks? If the answer is no, immediately following this thing, get in your car and drive to a local bank and introduce yourself. There are hundreds of local banks. I get it's COVID. Maybe you can't do that today. But my point, I hope you understand the point is you have to build relationships with banks, right? Waterstone Bank, Commerce State Bank, Truestone Bank, PNC, US Bank. We have more banks popping up at every corner in this area. So let's talk to them, right? Hi, how are you? I'm an investor. Great. Nice to meet you. Get their name, build a relationship, see where it goes from there. The other way to do it is through private money. So obviously there's a resource on Milwaukee Hard Money, which we're not here to discuss today. There's also other private lenders, right? Mother, father, brother, grandma, grandpa, neighbor, anybody. Shake the tree, guys. But the easiest way to shake a tree is to have a plan and to never, ever, ever lose the respect of somebody that's willing to lend you money. Okay? Think about this. If somebody's willing to go out on a limb and lend you 20 grand or 50 grand, do not defy their respect. Make sure you have a business plan in place that you can pay them back. We have a lot of borrowers of ours a few of them, where we have ended up having to foreclose on the asset because their business plan did not work. But lo and behold, they've had investors that they've put in behind them that we've heard from. Well, what's going on? Well, what's going on is you came into a plan that didn't have a business plan. And so you've lent him money, which enabled him to get a loan with us, but you didn't have a plan to get him out of it. And so that gets your plan in. And then the other thing we got to talk about is the type between residential. What is the difference between a residential loan and a commercial loan, right? And in essence, a commercial loan is not attached to your credit report, but It is a commercial loan is with the commercial bank through your LLC. A residential loan is a loan where you can go get a 30-year mortgage with Fannie or any of the FHAs, and they'll do up to 7 or 10. I don't know what their guidelines are today.
Up to 10.
Up to 10 loans, but it's in your personal name, and it affects your credit. And I don't recommend it. I have never done one of those.
Understand, you can get a commercial loan without the property being commercial. It could be a 2 to 4 unit. It's an investment property.
Yeah. So an investment property, any property that is non-owner occupied can be considered a commercial loan. Think about it. If you don't own it, that's fine. Someone mentioned seller financing. Yeah, seller financing is great, right? If you can get it done, seller financing is phenomenal, right? There's land contracts that you can convey through. There's so many other options, right? All of these are creative, right? And everybody hears about all of these through the various different folks that ends up traveling through the world, right? Can you put that back up here, Mike? The question, I just want to see what Eli just said. Are rates higher in commercial? Yeah, of course they are. And they're also not fixed for 30 years. So traditionally it's a 3, 5, 7-year mortgage.
FHA is only owner occupied.
Well, there are non-owner occupied product that is residential, that is a longer term, that is a longer rate lock. Yes, all of that available. But the problem is that it stunts your growth, right? You are not able to grow efficiently in real estate. Now, if you say, Scott, I don't want to grow. I want to have 5 properties. God bless you. You're nailed it, right? But I can assure you that once you become successful in real estate, you're going to want more than 5 properties. You're going to want 10. And then what happens after 10? You're going to want 20. And so let's get through that for 1 minute. Let me show you one other thing here, if I can. So how do you prepare for a lender, right? How do I prepare for a lender? Let me ask myself this question. How do I prepare for a lender? I believe that you only get one chance to make your first impression, right? That's all I have in my mind, right? So, Ryan, we got to put up a commercial for you, buddy. What do we want to do? You want to come down to our office and we'll film it and then we'll throw it out there? Because I'd love to have you up here and we can share anything you got with the rest of the group. Thanks. So how do you do this, right? Here's what happens. I take the opportunity and I put a letter out, which is right there, request for financing. If anybody wants a copy of it, I'll show it to you. I have no problem showing it to you. So understanding that, here's what happens. I put out a letter. I put out all of my requests. And in my letter, I say, please respond to me by a set date, right? I want to know by next Tuesday what your rate is, what your term is, what your interest rate is, what are your closing costs. I want to know everything, right? I also owe you as a lender an obligation to tell you what I'm planning on doing with the property, right? So in my letter, I write you that information. I plan on taking this distressed asset and put money into it. I'm going to take this vacant office building and tenant it. I'm going to do all of these things. And I send this to to all of our lenders, and I ask them to respond. And guess what? They all respond. Some of them respond as we're not interested. We're going to pass. But they all respond because they got a letter from me that says, respond to it. They don't get these from everybody. But I encourage all 85 of you that are on this call with us today to get that out to them. So let's do that, guys, okay? If anyone wants a copy of this letter, we can talk through that. Let's get to the next slide, Mike. So a couple different pros and cons between residential and commercial. We kind of talked through this a little bit, and we're going to run through this quickly because I want to get to a couple questions, and we only have 5 minutes, but we might run over. So residential pros, you get a longer-term debt. You get fully amortized debt, so you can get a 30-30. You get lower monthly payments as a result of your amortization. You can increase your cash flow, and you get a lower interest rate, right? The cons are it's titled in your personal name. So that means that every time someone pulls your credit, it shows that you owe a lot of debt. It's very hard to get a position where somebody says you owe a lot of debt. Oh, wait, but John and Sally pay me rent. Well, that doesn't really show up on your bureau, okay? So it reports to your credit. It impacts your debt-to-income ratio, and you're limited to 10 properties, right? So going through the commercial cons, it's shorter term. Typical amortization is 20 to 25, which means your payments are higher, reduces your cash flow, and interest rates are traditionally higher. Although today, interest rates are in the mid-3s. How much lower do you want it, guys? In 2008, it was 6, and in 2018, it was 5. Now we're at 3. Come on. We're in a great place. Get aggressive in real estate. It's a great place to be right now. And so then we go to the commercial pros. It's obviously titled in your business. It doesn't show up on my credit report. So I own 1,500 apartments and my credit bureau shows I own nothing. So, and then it doesn't impact my personal finances and there's no limit on properties, right? I can go buy another 2 million properties if I wanted to, and it won't impact my credit. So let's get to the next slide, Mike. Someone needs to get in. So how do I get the equity? This is important, but we're slowly running out of time, but I wanted to just talk about this quickly. So we have distressed assets, right? So you can build equity, right? Sweat equity. You can buy a distressed asset, you can purchase it, you can rehab it, you can stabilize it, and you can have equity that a lender will use to give you your down payment money. Okay, that makes sense. Now, you can also go to OPM, right? Find other people's money, right? Find people to invest in your strategy. I am a real estate investor every single day. This is me talking to you. Every single day, I am raising capital. Every day, I am raising capital for real estate transactions I am doing. So I have to go and get other people's money. I have to build the trust and confidence in them, in me, to them to say, I'm going to invest with you. Right? Okay. And then the other one is FIO, guys. Figure it out. Get out in the streets. Figure it out. Get off your whatever you're doing and figure it out. There's a solution. If there's a will, there's a way. If you're motivated and you're a risk taker, you will solve this problem. If you want to talk more about FIO, give me a call. Okay? Now, let's talk about, we're going to skip this for a minute, Mike, because I only got 2 minutes. I want to get to some questions. Yes, we'll rerun this. Yes, we'll figure it out. A couple questions that we had. I'm going to kind of run through them. Can you use existing personal property, single-family home with mortgage as collateral? Sure. How much equity do you have? So how much equity do you have, right? No problem. How do you finance a rehab for investment property? So you can find a lender that finances 100% rehabs. Of the rehab. So we at Milwaukee Hard Money, not as I want to talk about it, but we finance 100% of the repairs and 90% of the purchase. So great. Is hard money is good for triple net properties? Absolutely not. Triple net properties traditionally trade somewhere between a 4 and a 7 cap, and hard money does not work for triple net properties. How do you scale from a multifamily building to small apartment buildings? Well, that is called risk, right? Take the profile of what you're doing and start building on it, right? If you can run a duplex, you can run a 20 unit family, or you can run a 50 unit. There's no difference. It's more people, but if you're organized and you have a system in place, you can do it too. I promise you that. I assure you that. Will every night be easy? No, nothing's easy. Yes. So traditionally putting down money on commercial properties, traditionally in today's fashion is 25% down. And so that's where you are. So what do you think about the $5,000 homes in Milwaukee or the dollar homes in Milwaukee? I think they're great opportunities so long as you invest in your procedure to make them successful, right? Be aware that with those properties, there's traditional deed restrictions that require them to either sell to an owner occupant and or they limit when you can sell the property. So
I would say be careful in certain areas of Milwaukee when you're going to invest and the amount of money, repair money you're spending on it in relation to the values in the neighborhoods.
Yeah, and that's no different than Milwaukee City, Milwaukee properties or any properties, right? You gotta find a good deal, right? That's on you. So so that's is it possible to purchase a multifamily with no money down? I don't know. I've never done it. I don't think so. I've never heard of it. There's a way to purchase a multifamily with no money down, but using other collateral. Yes. But the no money down game that you might hear when you're up trying to figure out the world between 2 and 4 in the morning, put on something else. Real estate takes cash. Start your plan today to build up an ability to find cash. Cash comes from either you, other people, etc. How do you calculate if a property is a good investment? We just talked about that a little in the pro forma. Happy to go through that with you. When I refinance to a conventional lender, is that considered paying off the loan early if a prior to term end date exists? Yes. So traditional lenders, and most of them will say, you can pay me off so long as you sell the property. But if you pay me off prior to it to go to another lender, we charge you a prepayment penalty. Are there disadvantages to selling versus reinvesting, like tax implications? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's a 1031 exchange when you're selling an asset that can transfer the liability or delay the liability of a tax obligation. But consult your accountant. But yes, we can talk about that. And we're going to do a 1031 a workshop here shortly. And then a couple other points. How can I leverage a free and clear property to purchase additional property? Boom. Who figured this one out? This is where it's at. Okay. This is how you do it, right? Figure it out. But this is a huge opportunity to take a leveraged property. How do you do it? You take it to a lender and you say, here's my down payment. My down payment is 1234 Main Street. And I want to go buy 12345 Main Street. Not a problem. Let's go. Let me go get 1234 Main Street appraised. And after I get it appraised from there, then I'm going to use that as my collateral to secure my 25% down. Boom. That is a great question. And is house hacking something you would recommend if you can make additional units? Quite honestly, this is not something I've ever done. I stick to traditional. There is enough money to be made in traditional real estate investing with all of the things that's happening. People keep coming up with models, and I think it's a way for people to sell education, right? Let me come up with all these other things. Well, why? I can just go make money doing it, what I've been doing right down the street, and it works. It's worked for, it's been tested, I think, for 200 years. All right, and let's go to the next slide. We are out of time. It is 1:02. The reason I wanted to share this with you is you can find us at any of these places, including our website, Milwaukee Hard Money. If you go there and you simply want to talk, we're open. We'd love to meet with investors. We love chatting with you. Set up a time where you want to come to visit with us. Our offices, once again, are on the corner, are between Milwaukee, on 9th Street, between Juneau and Highland. We're here most of the time. This is kind of our home away from home. Sarah and I are here. We got a whole team here that'd love to meet with you. I look forward to meeting with you. I look forward to fielding any more questions. This is not easy to do in 1 hour, and I appreciate you guys joining in 1 hour, but we're going to send out a survey. If we want to do a follow-up class to the multifamily, we can get really into the pro formas. We can get into the accounting, into the QuickBooks. There's so much fun to be had here, guys. Make sure you're having fun doing what you're doing. Real estate is a dream, okay? Make sure you're living your dream, but get your butts up and get out in the streets. Figure out where you're going to be going, but do something. If the doing something is coming to these workshops so you can get educated, that's great. That's a great start. Let's get you to the next step, okay, guys? So on behalf of myself, Sarah, Mike, the entire Milwaukee Hard Money team and F Street Group, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank all 85 of you for joining us.